MCU fans, Armand here for E equals MCU. And we got our first episode of Daredevil Born Again Season 2 last night. And I have some thoughts, some things that I noticed. I only got to watch the episode once. I did notice a couple Easter eggs that I want to know if you guys caught as well, because it kind of leads me back to a video that I had just previously made a couple weeks ago. So let's start with the opening, okay? We open up the show and he's got the double D's already on the chest. They had it. I'm starting to think that the double D's are on there just because he's gonna be in Spider-Man. Let me know if I'm wrong in that thinking. But I think that they had to have him as comic accurate as possible because he's gonna pop up in Spider-Man, and they kind of just went into it. Double D's are on there. I think there's supposed to be an explanation in the season as to why they're on there or whatever, but we start off with them on there. Now, when they first, so they're on Fisk, his ship that he's got carrying illegal weapons and stuff through the harbor, and they called it the Northern Star. And right off the bat, I immediately thought of Captain America: Winter Soldier, the Lumerian Star. So I was like, oh, it's not the same ship, but very similar. So this was Daredevil's moment, much like how Captain America's was. And to be funny about it is that they both are peak MCU, but Daredevil's is peak TV version MCU. So they're both. I'm kind of really loving the fact that Brad Winderbaum is running Marvel's TV, because I think, number one, he's doing a great job of juggling what he has to juggle. He's doing a great job with mixing this into, tying it into the movies, but still making it its own thing as far as being TV. It feels like we're in the MCU, but it does not feel like a movie. And it's like, I think they have captured that balance. You can tell in this first episode that it has a direction and it does not feel Frankenstein. Now, it's just one episode to notice that, but in the last season, you could kind of tell what was added, what was shot before. The storyline was already underway with them killing Foggy or Karen, so they had to just basically show that, and then they incorporated that in. They did a great job of retooling that season based on the direction that they had originally wanted to go. This season, you can kind of tell they're just going, and it's just going. So, one thing I gotta say, off rip, the Daredevil, all of the shows that were done on Netflix were cheap. Okay? They were all cheap. They were all done for cheap. I've heard people complain about Daredevil Born Again being cheap. And while I agree, and I understand that it's cheap, and I'm okay with it being cheap because it has to be cheap in order for us to be able to get as much content as we can, because we know that Disney scaled back on their budgets, okay? So the whole reason why they're leaning into the street side of it is because they can do these shows for cheap. Now, with that said, these shows still are not as cheap as the Netflix shows. I really wonder what kind of budget they were working with on the Netflix shows, and that's why they were probably cranking out so many. You can, for me, and it's, like I said, it's just because I just watched Jessica Jones, I can tell that they are so cheap because the Disney Plus shows don't actually shoot on location. And what I mean by that, and something that I noticed, is I believe all of the Netflix shows were shooting in New York City 100%, but they were shooting on location in New York City. So when they went to the street corner, they were really on the street corner. When they went to Hogarth's office in Manhattan, Midtown or whatever, they were really in that office. You could tell when you look out the window that was not CGI'd in or nothing. They really just rented a floor within the city and shot their scenes on that floor and did the set. You know, they still made their set and filled it in, but you can tell they were really up in a building in New York City, really shooting that. You could tell in Jessica Jones' apartment, they looked like they were really in now, and it could be like with the apartments and the houses they may have been on. They may have been in a what they do is they shoot in a warehouse like in Chicago. Like for anybody who doesn't know, I don't know if anybody's ever watched the Chicago shows like Chicago Fire PD. Um, those shows shoot on sound stages in Chicago. They make you think that they're really at a hospital or whatnot. Like the scene that I shot when I did the Chicago Fire, Chicago Med crossover, we were at the hospital and I was sitting in the waiting room of the hospital. You know, when I used to watch the show, I could never tell before I actually did a show. And then once I went on set, I was like, yo, this is a set. And it look, I mean, like it's a very elaborate set. Like they got ambulances and stuff pulling up in the front, but when you go to a certain distance, there's just a backdrop to make it look like they're actually, you know, outside or whatnot. And that was a cool moment for me. But ever since then, I'm able to see the difference between when you're shooting live in the place and when you're actually shooting, uh, you know, on a set. So one thing I have noticed about even Daredevil Born Again season 1, season 2, some of the shots that are outside, yes, they do shoot on location in New York. I'm not saying that they don't shoot on location in New York, but a lot of the scenes like indoors and stuff, I'm 100% sure they're on a set because it's a controlled environment and they can shoot whenever they want. So that's cool. And they might still be in New York doing that and building those sets and stuff. But I know usually they're out of Atlanta. So I wonder if they're flying cast back and forth to Atlanta to New York. But what have you, it's not important to the actual show because we hype. Okay. So the part where he does that little intro part, that was peak Daredevil. That's the stuff you want to get. It was very cool. It was very cool. The part where Fisk, okay, so the part where Matthew Lillard's character comes into his office and he's from Langley. This is what I was telling you guys from the jump. That is related. DeFontaine and Fisk are working together. And the fact that Fisk knew who Matthew Lillard was and where he was from, he knew who sent him. What they did is they override it, okay? A lot of people before the season was saying, oh, how is Fisk able to do all this stuff? He's just a mayor. He's got to go through the governor. He's got to go through this sanction, that, all this red tape. This is how their way of explaining how he's going to be able to do that, because you bring in somebody from the CIA, they automatically overrank everybody else. And that's the reason why the one guy who was all, you know, he was puffing his chest out for a minute, like, oh, you can't do this, and we're going to do it this way. Da, da, da. And as soon as Matthew Lillard walked in and said he was from Langley, everybody was like, yep, okay. And then he got the phone call, yep, okay. He just knew who he was. He already knew who he was. So there's no doubt in my mind. And this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. This is a connection to the greater MCU that the old shows could never have done. If you got DeFontaine and Fisk, I would say working together, it's more like Fisk is working for her, I think is what it is. But it goes back to what I was saying about in Hawkeye, how Hawkeye and his wife knew who Fisk was and was trying to, you know, they were like, he's back or whatever. When you get those kind of tie-ins and then you're getting this all the way going back to Thunderbolts and what I was saying about the boxes and stuff that we're going to see later, this is the kind of stuff that is like, for the hardcore MCU fans, this is really like something to chew on. And I'm so happy for the cast of Daredevil, because in the 2010s, the Marvel TV people always had to be coy. It was always like, yeah, we're in the MCU, but we're kind of doing our own thing. And it was kind of like they were like, I even heard Charlie Cox allude to it. It was like we were like the stepchild of the MCU. And then the guy made a joke. It was like, yeah, but now you guys got your own room in the house. Like, you basically went from Harry Potter sleeping underneath the stairs to actually getting your own room. So it's kind of funny, but it is very true in the sense that now, at least with the Netflix MCU, they have their own room in the house. So it's like, hey, now they can go to other people's room, or other people can come to their room. And that's the thing about it. Like, that's satisfying. And I hope the actors and the crew and the people who, saved the show and made this show, I hope that everybody feels a sense of completeness with that, because it's finally come full circle. A lot of them have always wanted to be in the movies and interact and do all these different things, and now they're getting the shot too. So I am happy for them in that regard. That is a big tie crossover to me. The fact that we know now that Matthew Lillard's character is working for DeFontaine, or as I can't call her DeFontaine. I think she didn't say defense, right? As defense. Um, but I'm glad they got that tie-in with her. I like Julia Louis-Dreyfus in that role, so happy about that. Other thing, and one thing it dawned on me when Karen was talking to BB. I didn't realize they never had any scenes together in the first season, so that would be news to her. Now, I thought BB already knew, or at least suspected, that Fisk killed her Uncle Ben, but she kind of seemed surprised about it, that Karen confirmed it. And yeah, Karen basically, and this was the thing, another thing about the Netflix shows, Karen basically came out and they said, yeah, it was because of me. And I had totally forgot. It's like, yeah, it was her fault. She was getting all kinds of people killed in Daredevil. And it was just, it's kind of funny because a lot of people would tell you Karen and Foggy are the heart of the show. And after going back and rewatching some of the Netflix shows, I kind of feel like I know why Feige wanted to kill a lot of those characters off, because they were annoying. The Netflix shows, I love the Netflix shows, but they have their faults. And one of the things is their side characters, all of their side characters are annoying as shit. And what I mean by annoying, I mean like they're whiny. Like they're always like, "Oh, Matt, I didn't want you to have to get you shouldn't be the devil. You shouldn't have to," you know what I mean? It was always like these preachy monologues. I mean, it was Malcolm and Jessica Jones. Oh my God! Once he got cleaned up and the whole kill, oh, I want to help. I want to help. I want to. He was just like, it was so annoying. And the, out of the side characters, like I always tell you, I like the Trish Walker. Her character was written the same way, but her character's wants and ambitions were different, so it didn't make her as annoying. I think it would be annoying if you were a person that was trying to save somebody and they always kept getting themselves in trouble because they were trying to do too much. So it's like similar, but she wasn't like whiny as everybody else. She was always just like, she had that crazy look with the hair in her eyes, and it was always like, I'll kill you at a moment's notice because I think you deserve to die kind of thing. So it was like, she was fine. Jessica Henwick as um my sis, she was the female Iron Fist. She was not annoying. She was actually probably the best side character they had, in which case she basically became the lead character, and Danny Rand became the side character in his own show. But like his brother, Danny Rand's brother and sister was annoying. They were whiny. Foggy and Karen. Karen was like the ultimate, like, I'll get you killed kind of person. Like, she's literally toxic. Like, don't mess with her because she will get you killed for whatever reason. And it wasn't necessarily her fault, but she is such, like, they named her Karen, and a lot of people would say she is like, the poster child for what a Karen is. Maybe that Karen came along. It may have been because of her. I don't even know. What came first, the cat or the egg? I don't know. But annoying. Luke Cage, he had Night Nurse as his and Misty Knight. They were not. It was a little bit of a different dynamic. They didn't really have as many annoying characters. Yeah. But anyway, that's my tangent on that. As far as the show, when she finally tells BB that, we get what's going on. Now, she tells BB this, And she's in hiding. She's got the wig on and stuff. So we know where this is kind of going. I like where they're going. I like what they're doing with the storytelling right now. That episode was good to me. Like, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. Um, at the end with Cherry, I don't know. We don't know if Cherry's dead, if he had a heart attack. The way he even played it was just so cool. Like, he already knew. He didn't panic. He didn't like freak out. He was just like, okay, but you ain't getting in here without a warrant. Of course, they kick in the door. Whoop whoop. At the end there, when they demask Matt Murdock and realize it's Matt Murdock, and then Bullseye throws the knives and then throws them the one that says you're welcome. I honestly didn't know. Like, that was like some of the best TV I think Disney Plus has done, because at that moment, I didn't know how Matt was going to get out of that once they started hitting him. And once they pulled his mask off, and you're like the whole time, oh no, they can't do that. But they just did. And then I just totally didn't see him coming to save the day in that moment, keeping Matt's secret safe while saving his life. And now we're starting to get the breadcrumbs as to how and why they're going to team up this season, even with what he's done. Now, on the red carpet yesterday, Wilson Bethel was teasing that maybe he needs a one shot. Maybe he's next in line to get a one shot. I'd be fine with that, because I already told you where I think this is going. The fact that the Thunderbolts is kind of tied into the team evolves, he could be put in there. I could see him getting manipulated by Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. What is her name? Alyssa DeFontaine? DeFontaine? No, it's not. What is her first name? I can't even think of her first name right now. But I could see him being recruited with her and that being a thing. And yeah, I kind of agree. He does deserve to have like a one shot to tell like more of his story just solo, and then like where you want to put him at in the MCU going forward. So that's my initial thoughts on the episode last night. Man, let me know how y'all feel about it. And then we got the other news of the Punisher One Last Kill being the week after the Daredevil season finale. I think that's going to be peak. That's going to kind of feel like it's going to be the bridge between what happened to him between end of last season and going into Spider-Man. And I can't remember a time when not that I've been this excited about Marvel content, but I can't remember a time when they just been hitting and everything has been clicking, because through most of my time as a Marvel fan, the TV was never connected to the movies. I spent a lot of time watching the TV shows and the movies. Like, I watched both, but I spent a lot of time at the TV shows. I realized a lot of people haven't, so it's not a big deal to them. But to me, we are just now really getting like actual TV enriching the greater movie and MCU as a whole. And I can't remember a time that it's ever been clicking like this. I mean, like, we went from, even for me, like last year, even Captain America, Red Hulk, it wasn't as great as you want it to be, but it was kind of the start. I was disappointed with a lot of the things they did in that movie, but then going into Thunderbolts and even with Ironheart, how they did with Ironheart, I thought that was an enjoyable show to watch. I'm glad they're getting away from that old model of doing their TV shows, however, because I think that hurt Ironheart as well. But I was fine with Ironheart, and then going into Fantastic Four, I thought was good, and then Wonder Man, I thought was great. It's just all like bang bang, and then you got to think at the end of the year, bro, we are getting Doomsday at the end of all of this, and that, yeah, and they starting to line them up, pop pop pop. So that's where I feel on it, man. Like, let me know down in the comments how excited you guys are for this, how exciting it is. Did you watch last night's episode? I'm gonna have to remember to put a spoiler warning on the thumbnail and everything, just because I did just kind of start rambling off and running with it. But Let me know down in the comment section how you felt about the episode, how you feel about everything that's going on, all the tie-ins, all of the Easter eggs, everything. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you catch this, if you see this. I know the this is just me, like, in the car, just kind of, talking in the mornings while I'm doing my run. So, I would like to sit down in my studio and actually make a video, but right now with the situation, that's a little harder to do. So, but let me know, down in the comment section how you feel about it. Until tomorrow, I'll be back with some more information, I'm sure. So until tomorrow, y'all, peace.